Hey guys, I want to talk about the worst case scenario for altcoins this cycle. I'm always quite positive. You might know me from that. At least positive in a way that, I think we're going to see more upside than a lot of people now expect. And my thoughts haven't changed. Let me be very clear. I think we're going to get an alt season like we always going to get. And that the max pain in this case is going to be to the upside until I find a good reason or more reasons why we should not expect that. However, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Like you always want to consider the fact that you might be wrong, and the same goes for me. What if I'm wrong, right? What if we do not see an alt season? Can we still expect some decent gains on the altcoin market? That's what I want to go over in this video. I think that this is going to be pretty interesting. So if you want to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, and let's get into it. Now, the first thing, again, that I do want to mention, I don't want to, give you all my reasons for why I think that an alt season is going to happen, but I should I do think it's super important that you have your expectations more on the realistic side than on the too conservative side. Again, because if you expect for reason soever that it's not gonna happen, and it is gonna happen, then you can get very wrecked. And therefore I said max pain might be to the upside. Same in December 2020, January 2021, like you see right here. A lot of people in that period said there will be no alt season, altcoins are dead, yada yada yada. And what happened after that was actually the sickest alt season of, like, that was crazy, right? Like it wasn't the biggest alt season, that was 2017. But that was insane. The thing is that the sentiment now is completely the same. And I'm not even getting some negative comments anymore. People are actually getting mad at me for not being bearish at the lows. And I get the sentiment. I really get it, because a lot of altcoins haven't been performing very well. But you should choose, like, hey, a cycle, a chart, it goes to the top, it goes to the bottom, right? Where are you going to be bearish? At the top or the bottom? Unfortunately, a lot of people, they do that at the bottom. And that is simply the other way around, right? That's like just not how you should do it. Sorry, that's what it is, right? So be a little careful now being bearish. I know that the sentiment that can drag you into that, and that's very normal, especially if we have a lot of YouTubers nowadays as well saying that there won't be an alt season, because they are, in my opinion, very good at, telling you what you want to hear and not what you need to hear. But be a little careful with this. Now, again, I want to show a couple of pretty interesting charts, and you might feel like, charts don't matter. Look, if it's all sentiment, etc., that matters, then okay, trade that. But trading the sentiment only works if you counter trade it, okay? So if you feel like, hey, charts don't work, okay, cool, then listen to the sentiment. But in that case, you should be more bullish than ever right now, right? Also, all the sentiment, all the news, charts eat that up, right? Like that's included in these charts. Charting exists for a reason. It works on TradFi and it works in crypto as well. Very well, actually. Better than going off of the news and the sentiment and everything combined. So let's take a look at a couple of interesting charts right here. That if there will not be an alt season. Now, first, what might be what's the reason that we haven't seen an alt season so far? Well, the real answer, I think, to that is that nobody really knows for sure. But as time goes by, we are ruling things out, right? And what we see so far is that the Fed still is reducing their balance sheet, right? So we are still in quantitative tightening. And if you look at the altcoin market, on its Bitcoin pair, with the Fed balance sheet overlaid, you can see that that follows pretty well, right? So what the biggest reason for having or not having an alt season might be is the balance sheet. So in order, if that's true, to get an alt season, we need to stop QT, right? Like we do not need quantitative easing. I get that sometimes, but if you look at 2017, which was the biggest alt season ever and the biggest alt season we will ever get by far. Let me be very clear about that. Then you can see we were not in QE. The QE is that this balance sheet goes up, basically, right? It was just not QT as well. So I don't think we need QE to get an alt season. Last cycle, we did have it, right? But what I think is important is that QT will stop. Now, I want to be very clear. At a certain point, that will happen because if QT never stops, then the Fed balance sheet eventually will go to zero and they won't let that happen. So they're going to print money. That's, I think, as far as I studied the macro, I'm definitely not an expert in that. But that only makes a lot of sense, right? The Fed, they will print money if their balance sheet is going close to zero. And if this alt season thing is correlated to that, then it is guaranteed that we will get an alt season. But then it's more the question when and not if, okay? So I think that should be the topic actually. Like, hey, there won't be an alt season. Based on QE, QT, we will get one. But then it's a question like, hey, are we going to get it this cycle, right? And that's always a question that we can ask ourselves. And although I think we will get that, let's be super cautious or conservative or even bearish in this video for once to also look at that side of the story to see like, hey, what can we expect for altcoins in that case? Now, talked earlier about the fact that there might be too many altcoins on the market and that's stopping an alt season. I think that that's kind of ridiculous. If you look at the number of altcoins that are created right now, these are 37 million altcoins at the moment, right? And in 2021, it was like at the top of the bull market, at the top of alt season, there were around 3 million. So that's a 12x inflation. That's not really a problem because if you compare 2021 to 2017 alt season, we had 13,000 altcoins. So that inflation was way higher and we still got an alt season in 2021. Plus, if you see this, 28 million coins out of the 36 are on Solana. Now, what I said earlier, I maybe know 20, maybe 30 good altcoins on Solana, but not 28 million, right? Because they are all dead. They're from pump fund, right? Like people are not going to put their liquidity in those coins because they don't exist anymore. So I think that argument of there are too many coins right now is like people may try to see that as an excuse or something, but I don't think it makes sense, right? I don't think that makes sense. Now, what we should know first before we get into alt season, in my opinion, is this cycle a little intact still, right? With the two previous cycles. Now, if we look at Bitcoin, then yeah, very much, right? The purple line, that's where we are right now. Orange is 2017 and green is 2021. We are perfectly on track with 2017. We are a little underperforming so far against 2021. Then again, here, 2017 is also underperforming against 2021, right? It has the moments where it goes above, below, at a certain point, we're all on track. But if you look at this cycle and 2017 until the day of today, it is pretty much a copy. Okay, so if Bitcoin is pretty much a copy of 2017, can alt season then also be a copy of 2017? Look, I don't want to rule that out, right? Alt season in 2017 started in March. It's now beginning of February. So it might be possible that we start alt season next month. And then it would make so much sense, actually. And maybe the narrative will be, hey, next FOMC meeting is in March. Maybe they will stop QT or even begin QE by then. It could, it could. Then again, I don't want to defend all the reasons why it is still, in my opinion, very likely to happen. I have a lot of other videos for that. What if we don't get it, right? What if we don't get an alt season? And what can we expect for the altcoin market then? Because the danger is that people say there won't be an alt season / get out. Look, there won't be an alt season is, in my opinion, not likely, but possible. Does it mean you have to get out? Not necessarily, right? Because why? Bitcoin is sitting at 100K. Right? Bitcoin is $100,000. We do not need an alt season in order to see some good returns in the altcoin market. Because the altcoin market now is 14% of Bitcoin's market cap. However, Bitcoin is now sitting at a $2 trillion market cap. Right? But what if the altcoin market doesn't go back to 50% of Bitcoin's market cap? Let's say we just go back to 25% of that. That's not an alt season by any means. But still, with the price that Bitcoin has, that's a lot of money flowing into the altcoin market, right? And I want to do some calculations and things right here that are actually very conservative, but that might give you some hope and perspective on this, right? Again, we have QT for a long while already, from, when did it really start? Like around May 2022, right? So no alt season since that moment. However, we still had periods where altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin here with 53%. Here, 71%. And here, 61%. So even if we have QT, it doesn't mean that altcoins cannot have a couple of months where they outperform Bitcoin. Now, the difference is that, again, if we overlay Bitcoin, here altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin while Bitcoin was sitting at, what was that? Let me remove this thing right here. This was around 20K Bitcoin up to, like 30 to 20K Bitcoin, right? Here, altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin when Bitcoin went from 30K to 40K, right? Here, they were outperforming Bitcoin a little bit, right? When Bitcoin went from 60K to 90K. You have to understand that Bitcoin is going up in the meantime, right? What if altcoins now start to outperform Bitcoin while Bitcoin is sitting at 100K up to 120K, 150 maybe, because it's obvious that Bitcoin is in a big bull market. And with, again, also not even the seasonality, but also all the news about a Bitcoin strategic reserve, like how insane is that, right? If you think that, I don't think it's wise to think that the Bitcoin bull run is going to be over anytime soon. So again, we have moments where altcoins outperform Bitcoin, but we didn't have a moment yet where altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin pretty decent while Bitcoin was also like up hard, right? And that could happen. I mean, that's been happening so far. So again, what's possible is that altcoins will go, let's say, back to this level right here, where they were like 2 months ago, 23% of Bitcoin's market cap. What if Bitcoin goes to 150K, right? That's nothing too crazy, I think. That's $3 trillion market cap for Bitcoin. 3 trillion, 25%, that's a lot of money for the altcoin market, right? That's a lot of money for the altcoin market. That's $750 billion. The altcoin market right now is sitting at $275 billion, right? So if we get there, then that's a gain of, 160% or so. That's a new all-time high by far, right? And that's only if we don't get an alt season, but again, just such a little moment where altcoins outperform Bitcoin again, while Bitcoin just continues its bull market, right? So this is, in my opinion, already like, this is not even bullish, or that I think like, whoa, if this is pretty conservative, but that would already put the altcoin market at new all-time highs, right? So I want to make it very clear that yes, I do think still that we're gonna get an alt season, and but yeah, I have to realize like the people that have been calling that this time is different, they're gonna be right one day, right? Like so far, it didn't work, but one day things will be different. Yeah, we have to keep in mind that this cycle, it could happen, right? It could. But even in that case, altcoins can still do very well, right? They can still do very well. So a couple interesting things that I want to show as well in this video. One is this. We all look at the price of Bitcoin, but we do not often look at the fact that, yeah, okay, Bitcoin is worth a lot more, but it's also because the dollar is worth less, right? Now, if we combine those two factors and we look at Bitcoin against the money supply, the actual money supply, right? Last cycle, Bitcoin did not even make a new all-time high, actually, right? If you look at 2017, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin was having this huge spike. 2021, Bitcoin went higher, but money became worth so much less, basically, that yeah, Bitcoin was worth more, but you didn't. If you sold that Bitcoin, you were not able to buy more with those amount of dollars. This is now finally the first moment where Bitcoin did make a new all-time high against the money supply. Not only that, actually, we broke out of this range. We retested that perfectly, and now we are above it. Now, this is cool to compare to the altcoin market as well. Bitcoin had its struggles, and it struggled here for a long time from March 2024 till November 2024, broke out, and from the top of that range, basically, it is now sitting 30% higher. If we look at the altcoin market on the money supply, then you'll find this. Kind of the same structure as Bitcoin. But because of the money flow, right? The money flows from Bitcoin into high caps, into low caps. Because of the money flow, the altcoin market is still not doing this yet. So we can expect this to follow. Now, from this point up to here is 30%, right? So from where we are right now, if altcoins just simply follow where Bitcoin is right now and they stop there, they can go up with around 120%. I think that that's pretty cool because that's quite close to the previous target that I just gave. 120% would be $600 billion market cap for altcoins, give or take. Right now, again, that's if altcoins follow Bitcoin until where it is right now, and not assuming that things will go higher for the rest of this post-election year, which they usually do, right? So try to be a little conservative, and I try to make you understand that, like, yeah, even if things are like really different and bad, then we can still expect a lot of upside, actually. It's not that we are in a bear market or whatever, right? I hear people say like, oh, we are in the bear market. Look, we are going up, right? We are overall going up. Take two steps forward, one step back. And every time we take that one step back, people, they freak out and they say that we are in a bear market. But if you look at the big picture, that's actually not really what's happening right now, right? So a move like this could very easily happen. However, we are now going down for quite a long time already. So it's hard to imagine. But you also have to imagine that the altcoin market is a very low liquidity market. And in the meantime, Bitcoin has been increasing in liquidity. So it doesn't take much from Bitcoin to put in the altcoin market to go up, right? You might feel like, yeah, it's not going to happen, but it doesn't take much. So we do not need much. So, yeah. Also, I think that if you feel like, oh, it's different, it's not working out, maybe sometimes it's good to let go of that and just look at some charts, right? Just look at what's really going on besides what I'm feeling. This is the total crypto market, excluding Bitcoin, right? We can take a look at the total market, and the total market is doing quite well, but it's mostly because, Bitcoin is doing well. But if we look at the total crypto market and we take away Bitcoin from that, then we get to this chart again. And where do we have it? I lost it. Oh, that's already great. One sec. Here we are. You can see that this cycle and last cycle are pretty much the same, right? We had our first stop. Here we had our first stop. Then we had that break below this line right here, this line. Break below it. Here, the break below. Then we had step 3, the second top, right? Step 3, second top. Then we had a failed retest. So we went, back to that line. We went below it and we tried to retest, but it failed, right? And we got rejected right there. Well, step 4 here as well. We went below it, tried to retest it, failed, and went below it, which basically put us at new cycle lows right here. Then we had that hard, usual mid-cycle run-up over here, back to that same area, hard mid-cycle run-up, back to that same area, rejected again, right? Rejected again. And then we had that second run-up where we struggled for a pretty long time, actually. We went in here in July 2020 and we broke above it in November 2020, right? So here, same, we went there and we are now struggling right there. And we went here in November 2024. It's now February. So yeah, based on the last cycle, we can stay there for 2 more months, basically. That's the struggle before the breakout. Look, I'm not saying we will get exactly the same, but I'm saying like, hey, so far these 6 steps kind of followed each other pretty perfectly. It's not weird to expect step number 7 then as well, right? So yeah, food for thought. What I also think it's pretty interesting here, this is a chart that I haven't looked at too much, but this is basically the Altseason indicator chart as well, right? This is the Bitcoin dominance plus the Ethereum dominance plus stable coin dominance. So this is basically everything in the market, dominance-wise, except altcoins, literally except all the altcoins. And what you'll notice is that we have been at the top side of this range for a long time. It was last cycle as well. We went there in July 2019 and we broke below in March 2021, right? So we spent here like 2 years pretty much, right? And here is basically in between is kind of nothing. So this is like where altcoins get wrecked, right? In between is altcoins start to do a little well. They get wrecked again. They do a little well. They're here. They fucking wreck like. And here, when we break below here, this is the real alt season. Now, here it's kind of the same, right? It's not really different. Altcoins, they get wrecked. They do a little well again. They get wrecked. We do a little well again. We just had this huge spike. Not even like this, but here altcoins very wrecked, right? And yeah. Again, like if we go down here, then it's alt season. And so far, it's all following. Another chart that I've showed earlier, which I think is pretty cool, is if you take the altcoin market on its NVIDIA pair. Why NVIDIA? Because NVIDIA is like an altcoin in the stock market, basically, right? It's a high risk, high return thing that has its moment. Pretty often. And what you'll notice is that altcoins, they do very bad against NVIDIA until pretty much here where they started to run. And this was at the beginning of the post-halving year. Here as well, struggle. Beginning post-halving year, start to outperform. Struggle. And now it's beginning post-halving year and we happen to now break this trend line. Could be a coincidence, definitely. But I think it's pretty interesting. What you also notice is that once we broke this trend line here, like we got rejection, broke it, you know, we kind of went like above this trend line. We rode it for a long time, and then we really have the breakout. Here we broke it, retested that trend line, breakout. Now we broke it, and we're now doing the exact same kind of retest, right? So, okay, admittedly, this video is again a little bit about, hey, you know, altcoins, they are repeating the patterns from every last cycle on every type of chart. So it's maybe a little bit like, hey, we're going to get an alt season. But I think it's also important to understand that, like, you should not trade against or you should not trade the sentiment itself, right? That's gonna get you wrecked, right? It's easy to now say like it's not gonna happen because that's a sentiment, and especially if you're maybe newer into the market and you have been only witnessing it going down or sideways, yeah, then it's easy to expect so. But again, end of 2022. People said the exact same thing. And these were the people that got wrecked. Now people are saying it again, right? And you might be right? But the chance is so low. And I do feel like, man, you are falling for it. Like, I get it, but you are falling for it. But again, even if the people that say that there won't be an alt season are going to be right this time, that doesn't mean that you cannot make money in the altcoin market, right? Because it shows, again, that altcoins on the Bitcoin pair, they can have extreme hard pumps, 60%, 70%, 50%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but outperforming a Bitcoin that's sitting at 100K or above with 60% is insane, especially for such a low liquidity market. And that can take prices to whole new levels that we haven't seen before. Now, in terms of, is every altcoin gonna pump? No. Again, like I showed on this Dune chart, like if you are now betting on all these new pump fund Solana tokens, yeah, no, like they are already dead. Again, but that's not where the liquidity is going, right? That's not where the liquidity is going. But it's also not as simple as like, it's only going to be a meme coin run. Like we have seen, like meme coins are the ones that are down hardest, right? When the market is not doing well. So be a little careful what you're in. It's also not going to be an AI only run or a RWA. These are the hypes, and they go from hype to hype to hype, and some they stick for a little longer. Overall, is every altcoin going to run? Not everyone, of course not. But the overall market is. And therefore, I do think it's important to just position yourself in altcoins that at least show that they can hold up against Bitcoin, right? That they are not going to get completely wrecked against Bitcoin. Therefore, I made 2 tier list videos a couple videos ago. Do check it out. I'm not saying you should buy these altcoins necessarily, but I do think that that's the right way to look at it, right? Why invest in an altcoin that's already underperforming against Bitcoin harder than the rest of the altcoin market? Like you are basically feeling that you are already wrecked enough, but then also buying these altcoins. Yeah, like, of course, then you're going to get wrecked even more, right? What I expect personally for this altcoin market is the following. If we look at the others' dominance, right, then I do feel like, man, if you look at the others' dominance, I have to put it on a log scale right here. Look, you might feel like, oh, it's wicking below it right now. That's fine. Here it wicked above and it was still intact, right? So wicks can happen. I do feel like this is still intact after 10 years, right? So it is very wise to bet on the fact that this is still intact. 30% would be the target in that case. When they're twice in the last bull market, and I don't know how many times in the bull market before that. So that's how much percent the altcoin market is dominating compared to the rest of the market. So the complete crypto market now sits at $3 trillion, right, will be higher as soon as this gets here. But let's say no new money will flow in the market for what reason so ever. 30% of 3 trillion is still 900 billion, right? 900 billion. Yeah, the altcoin market is now sitting at 274. Again, that's if no new money flows in the market, right? Let's say it gets to this midline. Let's round it up 20% to, be a little, to make the math a little easier. 20% of that $3 trillion is 600 billion, right? But that's already getting very unreal for me. Like, it's only getting that low and no new money is going to flow in the market. Like, we see that new money is flowing into the market, right? Like, this is one of the most bullish charts out there, actually. So even if we are going to try to be very careful and bearish about things, then, the target for the altcoin market is somewhere around 600 billion up to $1 trillion, basically, right? Yeah, that's kind of insane. So again, even if there won't be an alt season, altcoins can still make fantastic gains, right? They will make fantastic gains. So yeah, I want to wrap it up right here, but it's for the people that feel like, it's not going to happen. Okay, if you really think that, fine. But it doesn't mean you don't have to be in altcoins, right? If anything, we are now at the lows. Yeah, what better moment is there to get into altcoins, right? And it can be lower the next month or the next month. That's definitely true. The danger is that you completely miss out, because in this cycle, it kind of changed overnight, right? And here you didn't have time for accumulation. And the thing is, cycle-wise, time-wise, we are now there. So why wait or stay sidelined for I don't know how long, or wait for QE to come back? Because then, this last cycle, it went up 50% in a month already, right? Let's say next month it's up 50%. Yeah, then we are back to where we were in June 2024. So you missed out on half a year, basically, of gains. Will be a waste, right? So I want to leave it right here. I hope this is a little helpful for the people that maybe have a little fear right now that it's over or not going to happen. Again, I get the sentiment, but yeah, I don't know. On the other hand, if you look at the charts, then I feel like it's actually a pretty good moment to be here right now. And I think you're going to be very happy with that decision in a few months. So let me know what you think. In the meantime, like the video if you did like it, subscribe, turn the bell notification on. I'll see you maybe tomorrow. Busy week, but I'll be here soon.